Imagine this. You open your front door one ordinary morning, expecting nothing more than the usual salty breeze and the distant cry of gulls. Instead, you find the ghost of your own daughter staring back at you, not in person but in a single photograph that slices through your heart like a hidden blade. That's how betrayal arrived for me. Quietly. Publicly. Irrevocably. My name is Evelyn Harper. I'm 62 now, though some days I feel 110. I live in the same weathered gray clapboard house perched on the cliffs of a small coastal town in Maine, where the Atlantic doesn't just meet the shore. It slams into it over and over like it's trying to remind every living thing who's really in charge. Fog rolls in thick most mornings, turning the world soft and secretive. The air always tastes of salt and pine. Hydrangeas, those stubborn blue and purple ones, fight the wind year after year just to bloom. That's where I've spent the last 38 years, building a life out of whatever scraps were left after the sea took my husband. Tom died when Leela was 10. One minute he was there, broad shoulders smelling of brine and motor oil, kissing her forehead before heading out on the boat. The next, the Coast Guard was knocking with hats in their hands and voices too gentle for the news they carried. A sudden squall. A line snapped. A man gone. Just like that. I didn't have the luxury of collapsing. There was a little girl upstairs who still believed daddies always came home. So I got up every morning, pulled on the waitress uniform that smelled faintly of fryer grease and went to work. Days at the lobster shack, nights stocking shelves at the warehouse off Route 1, weekends scrubbing floors for summer people who never learned our names. My hands were rough as sandpaper. My back screamed every time I bent to pick up a dropped fork or a heavy crate. But every paycheck went straight to Leela. School supplies, new sneakers, that first prom dress she twirled in like she was starring in her own movie. I told myself it was temporary. That one day she'd look back and see how every sacrifice was a stepping stone for her. I pictured her graduating college, landing a big job in the city, coming home to visit with stories and laughter. I pictured her calling me Mom, the way she used to, full of warmth, not obligation. She did graduate. Summa cum laude from Boston University. She got the marketing job in Portland. The calls started shortening. Busy week, Mom. Work's crazy. I'll call next Sunday. Sundays turned into occasional texts. Texts turned into read receipts and silence. Then came the morning that changed everything. I was at the kitchen table, the same scarred oak one Tom and I bought secondhand when Leela was still in diapers, sipping black coffee that had gone lukewarm. My ancient laptop was open, the fan wheezing like an old man. I scrolled Facebook the way older people do, half habit, half hoping for a glimpse of the life I used to be part of. The photo loaded slowly. Leela, glowing in a soft yellow sundress, her dark hair catching the light. Her arm was wrapped around a tall, clean-cut man in a crisp linen shirt. She was holding up her left hand. A diamond sparkled there, modest but flawless, the kind that screams, "I'm starting my real life now." The caption underneath read, "He asked." I said yes. Forever starts now, ring red heart, #engaged, #soulmate, #future misses. My coffee cup trembled. I set it down before I dropped it. Comments poured in underneath, heart emojis, congrats. You two are perfect together. Friends from high school. College roommates. Strangers I'd never met. Not one mention of me. Not one tag. Not one, can't wait for Mom to meet him. I sat there, staring, waiting for the follow-up message. The excited phone call. The Mom, guess what? That never came. Days passed. A week. Then I sent one careful text. Saw your beautiful news, sweetheart. I'm so happy for you. Call me when you have a minute. Love you. Delivered. Read at 7:42 p.m. No reply. I told myself she was overwhelmed. Planning a wedding is stressful. She'd reach out soon. Then the envelope arrived. It was heavy cream cardstock, the edges kissed with gold foil. The kind you see in bridal magazines, elegant and expensive. My heart lifted for the first time in weeks. Maybe this was it, the invitation, the bridge back to her world. I carried it to the living room couch, the one where I used to read her bedtime stories, and slid my thumbnail under the flap. Inside was a single card. No photos. No RSVP card. Just elegant black script. Dear Mom, Daniel and I have chosen to keep our wedding intimate and stress-free. We are celebrating with close friends and his immediate family only. We hope you understand this is our final decision. With love, Leela and Daniel. The words blurred. I read them again. And again. My chest tightened until I couldn't draw a full breath. No, we'd be honored if you'd join us. No, please save the date. Just, exclusion. Polite. Final. Absolute. Later, in the way small towns work, the truth trickled in through neighbors and old friends. Over 200 guests. Daniel's parents flew in from Chicago with matching luggage sets. Leela's college friends came from 3 states. Even her high school best friend, who'd moved to California, flew back. Champagne toasts. A string quartet. A sunset ceremony on a private beach. The only person deliberately left off the guest list was me. Her mother. The woman who had carried her, raised her, bled for her. The wedding day arrived like any other. Gray skies. Steady wind off the water. I sat on the porch swing, wrapped in the old quilt Tom used to drape over his shoulders on cold nights. I rocked slowly, watching the horizon where the ocean met the sky in a bruised line of purple and gold. I pictured her walking down an aisle of white rose petals. I pictured her laughing as she danced with her new husband. I pictured the empty chair where I should have been sitting, front row, right side, clutching a tissue and trying not to cry too loudly. Did she glance at it even once? Did she feel the hole where her mother should have stood? Or had I already become invisible? I cried until my eyes swelled shut and my throat burned. The waves kept crashing below, indifferent. The gulls kept screaming. The world didn't stop because my heart had. But heartbreak has a strange side effect. It doesn't kill you. It hardens you. It teaches you how to breathe through the pain until the pain becomes armor. And somewhere in that long, salt-soaked afternoon, as the sun bled into the sea, a quiet resolve took root inside me. This wasn't the end. This was only the beginning of something much colder. Time has a cruel way of stretching pain into something almost bearable. Months blurred into seasons. The hydrangeas I'd planted with Leela when she was small bloomed and faded without her ever seeing them. I stopped checking her Instagram. I stopped jumping when my phone buzzed. I told myself I was moving on, gardening, walking the pebbled beach at dawn, volunteering twice a week at the women's shelter downtown where I'd once been the one needing help. I almost believed the lie. Then came the Tuesday afternoon that shattered the fragile peace I'd built. I was out front in the late summer light, kneeling in the dirt, snipping faded blooms from the hydrangeas. The air smelled of cut grass and distant rain. My hands were stained green, my knees aching from the damp earth. That's when I heard the low crunch of tires on the gravel drive. Slow, deliberate, like someone who knew they weren't welcome but was coming anyway. A black SUV I'd never seen before rolled to a stop. Tinted windows. Shiny rims. The kind of car that doesn't belong on a dirt road in Maine. The passenger door opened first. Leela stepped out. My pruning shears slipped from my fingers and clattered to the stones. For a heartbeat I couldn't move. Folked, transformed. Sleek blonde highlights threaded through her dark hair. Designer sunglasses pushed up like a crown. A cream silk blouse, tailored trousers, heels that clicked sharply against the gravel. She carried herself like someone who had already outgrown this place. Outgrown me. Behind her came the man from the Facebook photo. Daniel. Tall, polished, the easy confidence of someone who's never had to count quarters for groceries. He held a slim leather folder under one arm like it was a contract waiting to be signed. I stood slowly, brushing dirt from my jeans, heart hammering so hard I thought they could hear it. "Hi, Mom," Leela said. Her voice was soft, almost careful, like she was approaching a wounded animal that might bolt or bite. I couldn't speak. A year of silence, and this was the greeting? No hug. No apology. Just those 2 careful words hanging in the salty air. "Come inside," I managed finally. My voice sounded rusty. We moved to the kitchen. The same kitchen where Leela used to sit on the counter swinging her legs while I made pancakes. Now she perched on the edge of a chair like she might leave at any second. Daniel stood behind her, folder still in hand. Small talk scraped by. "Weather's been unpredictable, house looks the same, how's the garden?" Every word felt like walking on broken glass. Then Leela took a breath, glanced at Daniel and got to it. "Mom, Daniel and I are starting a family soon. We're trying to get settled, but Portland's impossible right now. Prices are through the roof and renting feels like throwing money away. Your place, it's perfect. The size, the yard, the view. We thought maybe you'd consider signing it over to us. Or at least selling it to us for well below market value. You don't need all this space anymore." Daniel nodded smoothly like they'd rehearsed this in the car. What Leela's saying is it's practical. You're getting older, Evelyn. Upkeep on a house this size is a burden. We could take over everything, repairs, taxes, yard work. You'd be free to downsize. Maybe get a nice condo in town, something easier. It's a win for everyone. The room tilted. My ears rang. I looked from one to the other, searching Leela's face for the girl I'd raised. The one who used to cry when I came home exhausted. The one who promised she'd take care of me when I'm old. All I saw was calculation. Let me make sure I've got this straight, I said slowly, each word deliberate. You didn't invite me to your wedding. You chose 200 guests, his parents, your college friends, even people I haven't seen since you were in high school. But not me. Your own mother. You cut me out like I was an embarrassing relative no one talks about. You ignored every call, every text, every birthday card I sent. For over a year you pretended I didn't exist. And now you drive up here, walk into the house I paid for with 20 years of double shifts and blistered hands, and you ask me to give it to you. Leela's jaw tightened. Her eyes, those same hazel eyes I used to kiss goodnight, flashed with something sharp. Don't twist this, Mom. The wedding was supposed to be stress-free. You always said you hated big crowds and formal things. We didn't want drama. And this house, she gestured around like it was already hers. It's too much for one person. You've had your life. You raised me. Now it's our turn to build something. This is how families help each other. Our turn. The words landed like a slap I felt in my bones. Daniel leaned forward slightly. Look, most parents would jump at the chance to set their kids up like this. It's not like we're asking for a handout. We'd make sure the place stays in the family. I laughed. A short, bitter sound that surprised even me. Family, I repeated. Funny how that word changes meaning when it's convenient. I stood up. My hands were shaking but my voice stayed steady. This house isn't just wood and shingles. Every nail, every coat of paint, every mortgage payment was for you, Leela. I skipped vacations. I skipped doctor visits when my back gave out. I ate ramen so you could have new books and college applications. And you stand here, in my kitchen, telling me I've had my life? That it's your turn to take what I built. Leela's face flushed. You're being selfish. You're clinging to something you don't even need anymore. Daniel scoffed under his breath. Typical. Older generation always thinks the world owes them forever. I turned to him, eyes locked. You're standing in the house I bought with sweat, tears, and nights when I didn't know how I'd pay the electric bill. Don't you dare call me selfish while you try to take it from me. Silence stretched, thick and ugly. Leela stood abruptly. Fine. If that's how you want it. They moved toward the door. Daniel muttered something about talking to a lawyer if we have to. Leela paused at the threshold, back to me. You'll regret this, she said quietly. When you're alone here and we're gone for good. The door slammed. The SUV's engine roared to life. Gravel sprayed as they peeled away. I stood in the doorway watching the taillights disappear down the hill. My chest heaved. Tears burned but I refused to let them fall. That night I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table under the single bulb that had hung there since Tom was alive. I replayed every moment. Every sacrifice. Every time I told myself she'll understand one day. And in the quiet something shifted. Not anger. Not anymore. Resolve. Cold. Clear. Final. I knew what I had to do next. And once I did it there would be no going back. Some decisions feel like falling off a cliff. You don't know how far you'll drop until you've already jumped. That Tuesday night after Leela and Daniel stormed out, I sat alone under the single hanging bulb in the kitchen, the same one that had flickered through every late-night worry since Tom died. The house creaked around me like it was breathing, remembering every argument, every laugh, every tear it had held. I didn't cry. Not anymore. Instead, I opened the drawer where I kept important papers. The birth certificate with Leela's tiny footprints. The deed to this house I'd finally paid off in 2008 after 21 years of scraping by, the yellowed photo of the three of us on the beach the summer before the accident. I stared at that photo for a long time. Leela, gap-toothed and grinning, clinging to my leg while Tom lifted her into the air. We looked unbreakable. We weren't. The next morning I drove 30 miles inland to Mr. Callahan's law office in Ellsworth. He'd handled everything after Tom's death. The insurance claim that barely covered the funeral, the small life policy that kept us afloat, every will update over the years. He was the only person in town who knew exactly how much blood I'd poured into keeping this roof over our heads. I sat across from him in the same cracked leather chair I'd sat in 20 years earlier, and I told him everything. The Facebook post. The cream envelope. The wedding I never saw. The visit. The demand. The words that still burned. You've had your life. It's our turn now. Mr. Callahan listened without interrupting, pen poised over his yellow legal pad. When I finished, he set the pen down slowly. You're asking me to cut your only child out of your estate. Completely. I'm asking you to make sure this house, the only thing I have left that still feels like home, goes to people who will actually value it. Women like I used to be. Single mothers running on fumes, counting change for diapers, terrified they'll lose everything. If Leela can't see what this place means, maybe someone else will. He studied me for a long moment. And if she contests it? I leaned forward. Make it ironclad. Add a clause. If she challenges the will, or if she ever comes back demanding anything more, money, the house, even an explanation, the entire estate accelerates immediately to the Coastal Haven Foundation. No negotiation. No delay. And send her a letter when it happens. One that spells it all out. He exhaled through his nose. That's unusually punitive, Evelyn. It's protective, I corrected quietly. She taught me I need protecting, from my own daughter. We rewrote the will that afternoon. I signed every page with a hand that didn't shake. I told no one. Not my neighbor Margaret who brought me casseroles. Not the ladies at the shelter. Not even the ocean I talked to sometimes when the nights got too quiet. 6 months passed in a strange, suspended calm. I kept the garden alive. I walked the beach at low tide collecting sea glass the color of Leela's old bedroom walls. I started sleeping better. The house felt lighter somehow, like it knew the weight was about to shift. Then the phone rang one rainy November evening. Leela's name on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice cracked through the speaker a minute later. Mom, I got a letter from Mr. Callahan. About the will. About the house going to some foundation. What the hell is this? You're giving away our home? After everything? Call me. We need to talk. Please. I didn't call back. 2 weeks later, a certified letter arrived. Thick envelope. Red confidential stamp. Inside, a formal notice that Leela and Daniel were filing a contest to the will. Grounds, undue influence by whom they didn't say, lack of testamentary capacity, they claimed grief had made me emotionally unstable, and breach of familial duty. They wanted the house declared invalidly bequeathed. They wanted it transferred to Leela immediately. I read it twice. Then I smiled, small, tired but real. I forwarded the letter to Mr. Callahan with one line. Trigger the clause. He did. Within 48 hours the foundation received accelerated title. The house was appraised quietly. A buyer was found even more quickly. A 29-year-old woman named Sarah who'd just left an abusive marriage with a 4-year-old son and nowhere to go. The foundation sold her the house at a price she could afford over time, with the condition that she maintain the garden and keep the porch swing painted white. I helped her move in on a crisp December morning. Her little boy Ethan ran straight to the yard and started chasing gulls. Sarah cried when she saw the pencil marks on the doorframe tracking Leela's height year by year. She hugged me like I was family she'd never met. I left before the sun set. I didn't look back. Leela came one last time. Alone. No Daniel. No SUV. Just her standing on my new porch, the small rental cottage across town I'd moved into months earlier. Her eyes were red-rimmed. Her coat was too thin for the wind coming off the water. Why? She whispered. Why would you do this? Give it away to strangers. I looked at her, the woman who used to fit perfectly in my arms, who now stood taller than me in every way except the ones that mattered. Because, I said, voice steady, I spent my entire life giving. Every paycheck. Every sleepless night. Every dream I set aside so you could have yours. And you learned how to take. You learned it so well that when you looked at me you didn't see a mother anymore. You saw an obstacle. A resource. Something to be used up and discarded. She flinched. I still love you, Leela, I continued. That will never stop. But love isn't a free pass to hurt someone over and over. Love doesn't mean I have to let you erase me. Sometimes the kindest thing a mother can do, the hardest thing, is to say, enough. So you learn there are consequences. So you learn what gratitude feels like. So maybe one day you'll knock on a door not to demand but to say you're sorry. Tears tracked down her cheeks. She opened her mouth, closed it. No words came. I stepped back and closed the door. Swiftly. No slam. Just final. She stood there a long time. I watched through the window as the wind whipped her hair and she eventually turned and walked away, shoulders hunched against the cold. That was almost 2 years ago now. I still live in the little cottage. The porch faces the same ocean. The waves still crash like they always have, relentless, indifferent, beautiful. I tend a smaller garden. I volunteer more at the shelter. Sarah and Ethan stop by sometimes with cookies or drawings. Ethan calls me Aunt Evie. It's strange and sweet and healing in ways I never expected. Do I miss her? Every single day. Do I regret what I did? Not for one heartbeat. Because the bravest love isn't the kind that surrenders everything. It's the kind that stands up, even to your own flesh and blood, and says, I deserve to be treated with dignity too. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere in Portland or wherever life has taken her, Leela will remember the house with the blue hydrangeas and the porch swing. She'll remember the woman who raised her alone. She'll remember the day she stood on that porch and demanded what wasn't hers. And maybe, just maybe, she'll realize what she truly lost. Not a house. A mother. Until then, I sit here with my coffee watching the fog roll in and the gulls wheel overhead. The world keeps turning. The sea keeps roaring. And for the first time in decades, I breathe easy.